Well, I've not worked on this project in literally months. I don't know if you can read that, but I started this in December of 21, and this Canarywood is kind of hard on my respiratory system. For some reason, I don't like the dust that it makes in this large quantities. If I have it in a design or something, it's not bad, but this Paduke can also do similar. So I was waiting to figure out a design for this. I think I've got one that I'll be happy with, and what I need to do now is turn this layer of Paduke and split it to a 1/4 inch ring and get going on it. So after months, finally back at it, let's get to turning. We'll get this outside round first. Okay, got the outside in the round and ready to part. So let's clean up these square edges on the inside and get this flattened. Okay, so it still has a little bit here where it hasn't turned, but I can get that with this sandpaper as it's pretty aggressive. So let's flatten this. Just using my finger to feel, make sure it's sanded, and it is. It's also not hot. Sometimes it can be very hot from the friction. Okay, so let's part this off. Still got a little bit to go, but I just wanted to stop and check my visor's fogging out. Let's see now. And if you don't catch it when you cut it off the lathe, sometimes you can break them, so be careful. So for here, you see how thin it was before I cut it. We just need to clean this up on the disc sander so that when we go to glue this, none of those little bumps warp or deform this and we get a good glue surface. But here we need to clean this up, so we'll clean up the inside, sand this flat. that's pretty close there. So let's just flatten this, and I don't want to spend too much time sanding this or it'll make it thinner. Right now it's fairly close to the thickness I want, so let's just clean it up. Okay, that looks good. So here's what that layer looks like turned. It's going to be a really nice contrast with this maple. We'll add another layer of maple, and then we're going to add a design. So hopefully I've got this ring somewhere stored and hadn't used it. I'll have to go look, but I'll get that glued on next. So I found the other half of this maple ring from here and was able to use it on it. So we are going to turn this down really quick and then get ready to cut the design elements for this piece. So let's get to turning. Okay, that looks good. So one thing I'm going to do is thin this layer down so that it matches the other layers, and then obviously clean up the inside. Okay, that looks good. And if it looks a little thick, it is. It's probably, we're probably going to lose about 1/8 of this as we continue to turn. But right now, let's leave it as it is, and we'll clean that up as we continue on. So let's get this flattened with our board. Good. So let's move on to getting our design ready. So here's what it looks like just after we got through turning, and that's what we wanted. We want this nice red-orange color of the Padauk to be a contrast between the white or the lighter color of the maple, and it's going to look good with the design we've got. Well, I've worked out the design for this piece, and it features wingy and Padauk. It'll tie in with our Padauk border here, and also give some nice contrast between the white maple and the Canarywood. So we're going to split this ring into a 1/4 inch layer. So let's do that right now. All the width I can get, and we are flat on the wingy pieces, so I still need to go probably a good 1/16 or so to flatten that out, maybe a little more. But I want to keep as much width on this top piece as I can, so as I continue up this vase, usually past the first ring or second ring past the middle of the design, I start to kick it back in. So this may end up being wider on the secondary ring than this ring here. So I want to keep as much of this width as I can so that I have that flexibility. So let's turn it down. this wingy, this red really pops against this maple. So hopefully you'll get to see that in a second. Let me get rid of all this where the stock was different thicknesses, and you'll see how this freshly cut wood looks against the maple. Okay, as you can see, I've still got some pencil marks on here, so I still need to go a little bit more, but let's see if we can't take care of that with the sandpaper. In here, I've still got a lot of square edges, so let's clean that up. Okay, that's kind of close, so we'll stop there. And here, let's just go ahead and see if we can't sand this, and if it's taking too long to sand, we'll come back and clean it up with the scraper. Just going to run my hand across this edge. Might need a little bit more right there. So yeah, it's really close. Let me hit it one more time and we'll start to part it off. Let's try it. I think I'm still a good ways away, but I'd rather be safe and spend more time cutting it than it to pop off. It just broke through, so let me sharpen this tool and we'll give it another go. Okay, so yeah, I had a good 1/8 or so. I could have done a little more, but it was not cutting the way I wanted it to. Okay, so let's clean this up, thin this layer down, and I'll work on cutting the next layer in the meantime. happy with that. So let's sand this flat. Okay, that will work. Still needs to be sanded more, but that gives me a good idea of where we're at. So here's our design layer we just turned. Still have a little bit of glue that we'll clean up on some of the previous layers as I just get close to it, and I'll do all my refinement as I get a little bit further along, but it's looking good. Love the color contrast. So here's our next layer, and this one features, we've added yellow heart here for part of this design, more Padauk, more wingy, and again maple. But let's get this ring turned and split down, and I gotta tell you, these colors are really gonna pop, and I'm getting excited. So let me get to turn it. Okay, this bigger ring is getting, or if I keep taking more material off of this width here on the outside, it may hurt me when I glue it up, not having enough material to get where I'm back to where I need to be. So I'm just going to leave it, even though I hadn't got it truly round yet, and worry about that later. I've also thick enough that I've also had to come back and start kind of straighten this up a little bit. It was going out, and I really feel like we need to get a little bit straighter here, because up a couple layers up here we're going to start to curve back. So I'm just kind of finessing the shape as I go. But now let's clean up this top and also the inside and get it flat. Anytime you have a difference in your material heights, really go slow so your tool doesn't catch. I've still got a little bit more that I need to flatten out. Inside is, probably take a good 1/16 off the inside. So let's do that. Okay. That's close enough, even though the pencil mark's there. Oh man, we're so close that sanding's going to get that. So let's sand this and then start to part it off. Looks and feels like we are flat. So now let's work on with our parting tool, getting this parted off the lathe. This is taking a while. Again, we're cutting hard and soft material. I'm going to go sharpen the tool because it's been a while, and just check that it's cutting good. So let me do that so it'll save us some time. See how well we did. Alright. So we were under a 1/16, which I'm glad I went and sharpened the tool. So now let's clean this up. That ring that we just cut off, we need to reuse. Not this next layer, but the layer afterwards. So we're going to hang on to it. Looking good. Now we need to sand this down. It's pretty close. I'm also going to start thinning this out a little bit from the outside. My shape feels really good on the inside, but we're at least a 1/2 inch. I don't want to be that thick, maybe 3/8 to 5/16 by the time we sand it out. So I'm just going to refine the shape on the outside with the scraper and clean that up. I need to sharpen this one again too. Just got through from sharpening my tool, and I'm going to thin this out just a hair. Okay, that cut well. So now let's sand this top down. Okay, that looks really good. So here's where we're at after we just parted this piece off, cleaned it up. It's looking good. Need one more layer of design, and then we'll reuse this piece, and then of course this piece, and then continue those design elements as well. Got the center piece of our design on here, and we need to turn it. Kind of second guessing myself and the fact that I could leave this the full 3/4 thickness, or I could split it. And what I may do is I may turn it the full 3/4, step back and look at it, or go ahead and part it off to the 1/4 inch. I generally don't reuse these rings on this leftover center. I'd have to recreate these other pieces in order to reuse it, so I might just go ahead and turn this out and see what it looks like, and then see what's a better design is. So let's get to turning. Okay, make sure this one doesn't hit anything. Closer. I'm still kind of debating the design in my mind with
what I had laid out or what I could use. It's going to be dramatic either way because these bold colors, but it's a shame to waste the material too, because I won't reuse this other half, or at least I haven't found a way to yet. Okay, well, let's keep turning. I think I'm just going to stick with my original design because that's what I had worked out. So let's flatten this top and clean up the inside. Okay, I still got a little ways to go to clean all this up. So let me go sharpen the tool again. This wingy yellow heart are a little harder on the cutting surface. So let me do that. I think we can get that with this sandpaper. I'm going to take the rest of this off and show you what it looks like. Then I'll go grab the ring that we cut before and lay it on top. And if the width is there, I guess I may just go ahead and leave it tall. These colors are so nice, and I hate to waste them. So yeah, let me do that. Sand this flat. Okay, that's looking good too. I'm going to go ahead and clean up the inside since I'm liking the direction that this is headed. And I'll also take some sandpaper, clean up this outside edge too, and just get rid of my pencil marks, any of the chips or the fuzzies. Trying to cut straight in instead of following the outside, just in case I do decide to part this layer. Okay, we still got a good 1/16 to cut. I'm going to sharpen my tool just one more time because I want these to be nice and clean cuts. And the wingy can sometimes chip, although it's looking pretty good. I'll sharpen the tool one more time. just got close, and I've got a few little hiccups in here where either this is a steady rest would help me out, but I'll be able to sand that out. So I'm going to spend a few seconds sanding. Got a pretty rough paper to make some easy work of it. Okay, it's looking good. Well, here's what we ended up with. So normally I would split this design right here, and it would look decent, and I would split this too, but a lot of times I'll leave this section taller, and so on this one just the colors are so nice that I'm just going to leave it, and I'll show you what that pattern looks like if the layers I have work. If not, we can slim it down, and we'll be a little less in diameter, and those other layers may work easier, but I'm thinking this will work out. Well, here's the pattern that I had laid out for this piece, and instead of splitting the middle ring into two, if you leave it thicker, you end up with a pattern like that. With these end up looking more like some kind of pillar, and it's a nice look too. And I hate to waste some of this wood, so I think I'm going to end up with this. These other two layers are really close to the diameters I need, but the Baduke ring, let's see, it is a lot smaller, and so I'll probably have to make another Baduke ring, but I have enough Baduke right now, so that's not an issue. But it would take some time to recut these layers if they didn't fit, and they look like they are going to overlap. Oops. I was going to show you this one too, and this one is just barely going to overlap as well. I'm also going to start turning back to 90 and going back the other direction as well. So this is the widest that it's going to be, and probably this layer above that. So I just wanted to show you that. I'll get that glued up, and we will get back to turning. Well, we reused one of our layers to mirror our design, and we've got it on there. So let's get it turned and get another layer on. This will go pretty quick. All we're doing is cleaning it up outside, we move to the inside, sand it flat. That's better. I felt something was loose. Okay, outside looks good. Let's work on the inside. All right. Now we just need to thin the top some. And we'll do that by sanding. All right, I'm just going to hit outside and the inside real quick. So there's a look at the inside of this. We're working on that. We've got one more layer to reuse, this layer here. Then we'll go back to the maple, Paduke, and maple. So let's get that going. We've glued this other layer on and we're finishing off this design portion. We're just gonna continue to follow the shape of our piece inside and out, get the right height on there. So let's get that turned and keep going. One thing I will point out is that we have just started to slightly go back the other direction. We hit our high point, which is above the middle of the design, and now we're starting to curve back and to what I call the shoulder of the piece. So something to take note of. It changes how we turn this, and it's going to progressively get a little more challenging as we make the shoulder into the neck. So this is the most open that this bowl is, or this vase is going to be. So if there's any major flaws in it, and by flaws I mean you have a chip or something like that, now's the time to sand those out and at least get it into your 120 stage. That way when you finish the rest, you don't have to spend so much time sanding on a part where you can't see it. So I try to make sure I've got all my not flaws but imperfections in the sanding out at this point too. And while I'm on the subject of sanding, this bottom should be, it gets a lot harder to sand the further away you get. So really make sure that bottom's nice. And you can even clean this up to some of your higher grits, because you shouldn't really need to sand anymore past the, the areas you're working on. Like this design element area, I still need to sand in here. And I'll probably sweep back into this, but I shouldn't really need to sand any deeper than that. So I can go ahead and get this a lot closer to being finished out, or even take it all the way to 600 grit if I wanted to. Okay. Looks like I need to thin this down a hair. Maybe I'll be able to just sand it there. It's not much. So let's sand this flat. Okay, that looks good. So yeah, I'm just going to take a few minutes and sand on the inside a little bit, get rid of some of these marks, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, that will work for now because I still got some turning to do. So I'll show you what this looks like. Here's the inside of that. Looks pretty good. Here's the outside. You can see what the design will look like. Now I need to cut another segmented ring of maple and another one of Padauk. This one, the leftovers, is too small to fit up here, are too small in diameter. I've already tried it. So I'm going to cut those both at the same time, and what I'll do is I'll measure from the outside, because now the piece is not going to get any bigger. It's going to decrease in diameter, so that makes it easy to cut those both at the same time. We've got a layer of maple on here, and we need to split this down so we can add our Padauk layer. So let's do that. Alright, let's clean up the inside and then flatten the top. Okay, we're pretty close. I'll leave it at that. So now, let's sand this flat and part it off. Keep knocking my parting tool off. Okay. Check to make sure it's flat. Looks like it is. I'll touch up the tool. It's taken quite a bit of effort on this, and the harder I push against this without a steady rest, it really puts a lot of force on this piece. And so even though it's cutting, I think it could cut a little better. So let me sharpen this tool real quick. Okay, let's try this again. Got a lot better cut out of it. I think this is going to be a full 16th. Don't want to jump off the lathe. Yeah, we were under, but the way it sounded, I thought we were further away than that. Okay, so we'll sand this flat because we need to reuse this right above it. But for now, let's clean up the outside. I need to curve it back in just a hair, and then we'll jump to the inside. Alright, so that's close. It's still a hair thicker. And that's just because I'm giving myself a little bit of room on this curve. Right now we're fairly straight up and down, but I may decide to slope it in more or less. I generally have a gentle curve, and then once we break back into the Canarywood, starts to take some major curves back after the first ring. But just a gentle curve for now. So let's sand this flat and go glue up a Paduke ring on here. Okay, that looks good. Just going to take some sandpaper and knock some of this dust from the inside out. So here's what the inside of that looks like. You can see I left it proud just a hair. I'll clean that up in the next pass, but there's our design, and it still can be sanded some. But if I sand it perfect every time, it's just going to get thinner and thinner and thinner. So just get it close, and then as we continue on, it'll get more refined. Okay. I've still got a few flat edges, so let me take care of those. another layer of maple on here. We need to turn it and get it ready for another layer of the canary wood. Won't take too much very long to do that, but I need to turn this so I can get a good measurement to see how big to make my canary ring. Don't have a ton of this material left, so I've got to kind of be I don't want to make this next ring too big. I want to keep it where I'm not wasting a lot of the material as far as the width. I know inside the larger in diameter, I try to make things where the piece is generally right in the middle. It overhangs about equal amount, but this time we're going to curve back in, so don't necessarily need to overhang a lot on the outside. So I'm going to try to minimize that and overhang more on the inside as I turn this curve. This first layer is not going to be a real dramatic curve, but the next two and the third one are, as we go from this waist to the shoulder up into the neck. I don't know if I've mentioned it, but at this stage in this turning, this is the most open it's going to be. So this is the easiest time to sand some of these spots that might be a little bit more difficult as this vase continues to grow in size. From what I can see, we're going to be at least 3, maybe 4 more layers in height, so at least another good 3 inches. So you know, if that's getting long for my arm to reach, I need to start thinking about sanding everything. And of course I have, as this process has gone on, but I can see a few scratch marks in the bottom of this piece that I might clean up with some 120. And this area for sure needs some addressing, but back in here I want to make sure all this is nice and clean so that when I get to my finer grits, it doesn't take as long to sand. So now let me flatten this and I'll go get a measurement and cut a ring of canary wood. Okay.